Nice to see you too.
And congratulations. What are you being honored for tonight? I can't remember.
I'm being inducted into the Oregon Music Hall of Fame.
So this is an induction.
Yeah.
Because when you were here before...
It was Performer of the Year or Artist of the Year, and I was shocked at that. I was like, what? Why? Not that, I know I'm good at what I do, but it just seemed like I'm just doing what all the musicians are doing. We're just working, and so it's just a huge honor. And then when I got the, I think I was on tour when Terry wrote me. He goes, Storm, can I get you on the phone? I'm like, I'm in a different time zone. I'm tired. I can't really talk on the phone. Are you okay? What's going on? He's like, I can't tell you. I'm like, fuck. Are you okay? He's like, I'm fine. So anyway, it took him a couple weeks to tell me. He's like, we're inducting you in the Hall of Fame. And I was just like, it's weird. It's like really? I mean, I'm amazed. So honored. And I've lived here for 20 years and you know, when I moved here, I was going to quit music. And so it was sort of a shock and a surprise that I even continued to play music at all. But you're like, I'm 53, but I'm sitting there going, why am I getting inducted? I've only I haven't done very much. I've done a lot, but I'm just working. You know, you think like someone like, you know, Katie Lang and, you know, Joan Jett, and they get inducted. And I was like, I'm still just a punk. So I don't know. It's like a super honor. And Terry and Trace Shannon were the first people to ever book me in Portland, Oregon.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Tell me how you feel about this town.
Well, when I moved here, it was like the most at home I ever felt anywhere. And then I got really busy really fast and was just touring all over the world, which was awesome. And then every time I come home, and I feel like not just Portland, I'm sure you guys have traveled and when you go somewhere, you're like, yeah, I live in Portland, Oregon. They're like, oh, are you okay? Oh, yeah, man. They're eating babies and fucking them. And, well, maybe they fuck them and then they eat them, but they gotta scare them. And then, wow, yeah, Portland's like this really, it's a burning tire fire of hell. And I'm like, yeah, you should really not ever go there, ever. We don't even have roads. We don't use money. We still use beaver pelts. It's really fucked up. But what I've found, not just here, we get blamed for a lot of stuff, and we are made an example of. But it's happening, I think, all over the world, is this urgency and intensity and this sense of running out of time because information is so rapid, and it's not all 100% trustworthy, but people are fed a thing and they are given no time to react, and they have to have the best and angriest and hottest and most intense reaction. And so we are, it's been kind of going that way, but after the lockdown, through the lockdown, people just kind of became competitive in their outrage. And instead of being really passionate about solutions, they're really passionate about whose fault everything is. And there's just such an anger and a desperation feeling. But again, it's not just Portland. I come here and I just look at the landscape and I look at the trees changing colors and I see my beloved friends. Because I moved into my van. I sold my place and I live in a van. My van is now at my sister's house on the East Coast, but I was like, I don't know where I live. This is my last voting year in Oregon right now, unless I take up residence again. But I'm just kind of nomadic and just trying to get people to talk and to listen and remember that we're not locked up anymore. And yeah, it's not totally safe, but it's like there's still a pandemic, there's still a lot of stuff going on, but it's very apparent here. We get to see how tough things are all over. It's like we're like Detroit, kind of. Detroit is like the barometer for the country. Portland is like the barometer for our emotional Kelvin. our temperatures. And we all have a fever, and we're all really scared. For good reason. But we also have to remember that the fact that we care so much, that we're so angry, and that we're so hot and popping off at each other is because we care. It's because this town and this country and democracy and this world, this planet, this ecosystem, this fucking wild, crazy dimension matters to us. And so it's chaotic and it's scary and we don't know where it's going to end up, but if we just open up the aperture and back up a little bit and be like, wow, we're all really worried. Let's be together. Let's be together. This is the longest I've been in Portland in a row in probably 11 years. Yeah. No, that's not true. 2020, when the lockdown happened, I was here from March to July. That was the longest I'd been in many years. But this right now, 2022, is the longest I've been in a couple of years.
So given all you just said, which I thought was really interesting and well stated, and I'm not just saying that because you're Storm Large, I'm saying that because I really felt that. How does music fit in? I mean, I'm an Instagram follower, I'll admit that, and I think your Instagram is great. I've heard your Twitter is amazing, but I'm not on Twitter.
Twitter's a tire fire of fucking booger flicking. It's so much hate. There's much hate. They're just like gunning. And I used to do it too, because I could cut a bitch at 100 paces just with my words.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not going to be acerbic or cruel, or even if they like, I'm writing this song right now, it's almost done, called Everybody Ends Up Being Hitler eventually on Twitter. Because really, it takes no tweets to end up being called a Nazi. Right. Even by Nazis. So, I mean, I have obviously a Google alert on my name, Storm Large. So, of course, I get all the hurricanes and the tornadoes and shit like that. But also, the #1 white supremacy recruiting site is called Stormfront. And so I get stuff from there, and I'm like, so I call my web guy and I go, does anybody own Stormfront? And he was like, nope. I'm like, buy it. And so I haven't used it yet. My friends are like, don't provoke the Nazis. I'm like, it's just going to be me topless, slow motion jumping jacks with all kinds of like ACLU, Basic Rights Oregon, trans rights, Black Lives Matter, speeches from Medgar Evers and Martin Luther King and how, being a racist just means you're sexually inadequate. And you need a hug. Yeah. Many hugs.
Yeah. Well, this back to music. Let me ask you, I mean, when you think about this world, and I agree, it's a dumpster fire or shit show or whatever you want to put it, but music does help. I mean, you're an amazing musician. You're
that's sweet. Thank you.
But you're very present in the world, You've got Pink Martini, you had that whole America's Got Talent thing, you have your solo career, and you're bringing joy and happiness into a very dark world, right?
Yeah, we all are. I'm obviously biased. I always felt like that music was the most visceral art form because, you go to a museum and you can look at an iconic like the Mona Lisa or, the Scream, and you look at something iconic that you've seen a million times. It's kind of like seeing Lady Gaga or a celebrity. But art, you're like, most people are like, it's brown and scary, I don't know, and sculpture and dance. I love dance, but I like Afro-Cuban dancing. I love like contortion. I like body anomalies. I don't like that super very like, no, not to make fun of ballet. That's some seriously strict shit, but I'm like, you don't look like you fuck. But you do. I'm sure they do, but it's just very like opera. I don't get opera. But anyway, music, we use music for everything. We use music to to break broken hearts together. You know, we have a broken heart. We need a matching broken-hearted song. We're exultant. We're so excited. We need to get ramped up. We have our ramping up song. We have our getting sexy songs. We have our dance stuff. We have our songs that come on the radio and we're like, oh my God, remember that. And it's visceral. Food is too. Food is like a visceral sort of tug. But music it's everybody's soundtrack, like it or not. And whether you're famous, whether you are just sort of working, you know, I don't consider myself as famous. I'm like a working musician, which is more common than a celebrity, but yet we are not really emphasized. And so what Terry is doing with this education and with the with all the scholarships is such a godsend, because these kids are like, I'm not good at football. I don't really get this history thing. I don't know what I want to be. I just draw, like, I just am attracted to these things. And when I was a kid, and I'm sure it's still true, you're losers. Art fags, they called us. Art fags. And you're losers. And you can sing, but what are you going to do for work? Like, what are you know, like, art was for lazy people, was for druggies, was for whatever. And I'm like, well, where the fuck did Johnny Cash come from? Where the fuck did, you know, Curtis Mayfield come from? You know, they were kids. They were kids too, and they were singing in church or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, well, they're stars. I'm like, they are now. You know, why are we automatically, first of all, making that the highest achievement? I can go into a grocery store anywhere and no one's gonna, well, except Portland. People in Portland, they're like, standing by the bananas. I love you, Storm. And I'm like, that's awesome. Those are beautiful bananas, and I love you too. It's great. There are some places where I'm recognized, but I'm not like Madonna or Lady Gaga or chased through the streets, which is really great. I've been legitimately famous enough times, like from TV stuff. You don't know. It's terrible. But we have such a strong emphasis on celebrity and money and power, and not an emphasis on artistry and the work. You know, people are like, oh, it's all cocaine and blowjobs, and you go to rehab, and then you marry some starlet, and then we all get to talk about you, and you get to be famous. It's like, no, man, I have to live like an athlete. I have to go to bed. I have to make sure I'm hydrated. And if it's a really dry room, I have to fucking have a bowl of water on the heater or something. Be like I have to like mist myself like a fern, because I'm delicate and singing isn't easy. And so it's like being an athlete. So music but music is so fucking important, because you can hear it in a car going by and it will set you off. You can hear it in the club and it just fills you up. And you could be standing next to someone you fucking hate, but it's your jam. Nothing can touch you. Nothing can touch you. And you could be like, I fucking hate you, but dude, this fucking the jam, right? You get people to experience something simultaneously. They could come from completely different parts of the world, completely different parts of morality, different parts of gender identification, and yet total eclipse of the heart comes on, and they're clinking glasses, and they're just like, and I need you now tonight. And they are all one. That's fucking music. That's the power of music.
One more question I'd
Sure.
love to ask you, and it's related to what you said about the Oregon Music Hall of Fame and what Terry is doing, the importance of music education. Talk about that. I mean, talk about the work they're doing and why you think it's important.
Well, I mean, I kind of touched on it before, but I think it's important because these kids need to be shown that what they're interested in actually matters and has value. Because when you're a kid, when you like something and everyone's like, that's weird, that means you're weird. That means you're not like everybody else. And that was my experience. There were beautiful girls who could sing, and they had beautiful, pretty voices, and you know, but they were also they were also pretty, and they were skinny. I was like this fat punk rock, bad homemade punk rock hair, but I could sing my fucking dick straight off. And everybody would look and be like, holy shit, when I was really little. And so my dad would intervene and be like, she just wants attention, just ignore her. But I knew that I had a thing that wasn't annoying, that wasn't a problem, that actually kind of enchanted and bedazzled people that I didn't know, and they would look at me like I had done something really magical for them. And I clocked it and I was like, okay, that's something. And so when someone, it doesn't, after I wrote Crazy Enough, the book, I was on a little book tour and I was in New York. I was coming back from upstate on the train, coming back to the city. And I was sitting next to this woman who was on this call. It sounded really urgent. And from the call, I could tell that she was like a psychiatrist, and someone had gone off their meds and had run off, and they were trying to figure out where she was and all this stuff. And so I could kind of ascertain the situation. And so she gets off the phone and she goes, "I'm so sorry." And I was like, "I'm sorry." I couldn't help overhearing, obviously. And so we started talking. It turns out she was a child psychologist. And I said, "Oh, that's so funny, because I'm doing a book tour of my book about growing up with a mentally ill parent." And so we talk a little bit. She said, so how did you heal from that trauma?" I was like, "Oh, I mean, I wasn't traumatized. She never hit me. I mean, she tried to poison me, but that was just because she wanted me to get sick so she could take care of me. You know, it wasn't, she would never want to hurt me." And she's looking at me, she's going, that's trauma. So from studying about mental health, mental illness, trauma, brains are super amazing. But in resilience psychology, like child psychology, they're studying what makes a kid survive. What are the factors? I mean, you're a teacher, so what kids thrive? There could be a kid who was being raped by a gang, and they are helping other kids. There's a kid whose mom and dad got divorced, and they're paralyzed, and they cannot move past that. And not to diminish their pain or their trauma, but resilience in child psychology is like the number one factor. There's all these different factors like physical health, where they were born, gender, attractiveness, talent, intelligence. But the number one thing in surviving, thriving, and healing is a charismatic adult. It does not have to be a relative or a parent. It could be a teacher. It could be a friend. It could be an uncle. It could be your big brother's best friend. Someone who sees you and says, "You know what? I hope you're okay, because I want to see you tomorrow and you matter. And I love what you're doing. You're so interesting." Or whatever. Every human being wants to belong in community. Every human being wants to matter. Because if you're told over and over again that everything that you care about is evil or garbage or stupid, what the fuck is left? What can you do? You pretend you're straight. You pretend you're a good athlete. You get fucking beat up. But you're like, you'll figure it out, you know? And so what Terry is doing is he is bringing acknowledgement, just simple acknowledgement, seeing these kids, being like, "You're fucking cool. Let's see how far we can take it." Doesn't mean you're gonna be a rock star. We're gonna get you a manager. It's like, I want to hear your insides. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to see you dance. I want you to look in the mirror and be like, "I'm awesome." That's what we need. 'Cause there's so many angry people in the world who just feel so lost, and they want it to be someone else's fault, and they want other people to be punished because they are so sad and scared and lonely. I mean, music isn't going to fix everything, but if we get them young and we're like, "You're fucking cool. You're fucking cool. Keep going." We can make a difference.